That would be a bigger statement. That would be a much bigger statement. Now you've got your you got your NBA championship, you got your golden statues, okay? You're the king of the city. Let's see if the king of the city, LeBron James, can start speaking up about some of these social issues, about police brutality. He won't do it. Why? Because the same thing might happen in the Cleveland Cavaliers game. I can see officers walking out like, the Cavaliers don't support the police anymore. This is ridiculous. Karamia writes, I thought the concept for the movie Purge had to do with the population control and to get rid of poor, less productive people. Yeah, that was one of the rationales. But if you go back to the very, very first one, and I don't remember what the scene was, but there was an explanation, right, as to why they started doing the Purge. And part of it was because people have these feelings that kind of build up all year long. You know, maybe you don't like your neighbor, or maybe you got a competitor at your job, or maybe it's your ex-wife, or maybe it's that deadbeat baby daddy of yours or whatever. And so rather than hold it in, they give you a 24-hour, I think it was 24 hours, a 12-hour window in which you can do whatever and purge. But you're right, it's also about population control as well. If you remember the first movie, it was fairly kind of elitist in the sense that I think it was Ethan Hawke, I believe. His family, his house is assaulted and they live in this ritzy neighborhood. But what was so crazy about it is that these rich, younger white kids, these affluent white kids, they're all well-spoken, and I think one of them talked about how he had a private education. They're out here slaughtering people. And so you have this contrast between what we have, what appears to be civilized on the outside and cultured and well-mannered, and then the brutality of what they tried to do to that family. I like the concept of it, kind of like sci-fi action. I thought that after the first one, I thought the second one fell off a little bit, quite honestly. Keisha writes, hey, everyone, late but here. Glad to have you, Keisha. Welcome. Crystal writes, the body cams should be on for the cops' whole shift. Why is there a choice when they should be turned on? ? Well, I mean, I don't think they should be turned on when the officers are having conversations. I mean, there's no citizens involved, but maybe they're doing some strategy. Maybe they're talking about the investigation. Maybe they're talking about or to some undercover operatives. Maybe there's some sensitive conversations that you just don't want to have on public record. I can get that. I'll say it again, and people think this is macabre, and nobody has picked up on this. What we need to have is not body cam, but what we need is taser cam and gun cam. There should be a miniature camera on the weapon itself. On the weapon itself. And I think it'll give us a much better view of what's going on. Like, what was the circumstances for when that weapon was drawn out of the holster? Because I've seen things like, I've seen officers walk up to cars with the gun already out. I saw that. I saw a black man get pulled out of his car, and then his buddy came up and had the gun pointed at people. And these young black dudes was like, whoa, dude, what's up with the gun? Dude was, he was on edge. Don't effing move. If you do, I'll shoot you. Blah, 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 blah. Then he looks back in the back seat and he sees somebody with a camera, and then he goes to the back seat and starts messing with that dude. My question is, every time a weapon is drawn out of the holster, I want to know why every time. It should be investigated. It should be monitored. These officers should be coached. That's it. That's it. You're not out to get anybody, because if you're not doing anything wrong, you don't have to worry about it. James writes, Jay-Z and Beyonce donated $1.5 million to BLM. That's a lot of bail money. LOL. It is. Pat writes, I may be incorrect, but I think a vote for the independent candidate is also a vote for Trump. So here we go again. This happens every year with third-party candidates. It's like, man, I want to vote for a third-party candidate, but if I don't, then the more evil of the two evils is going to be elected, right, from one of the two major parties. And in most cases, people are trying to prevent some sucker-ass MC Republican from taking office. I don't know about you, but I didn't want Mitt Romney to be the president. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I didn't want George Bush to be the president, quite honestly. I thought it was a bad idea both times. Ohio didn't listen to me. And similarly, this year, I think Donald Trump would be a bad prescription for America. That's what I think. We don't know. He might turn out to be that guy. Brian writes, I'm trying to move to Canada. Wifey keeps threatening that if Trump is elected, we're moving, LOL. Well, here's what you should do. Everyone in your family should have a passport. It's going to cost you about a bill. It's going to cost you about $100 a piece for all your family members. Okay? Get your passport. There's a place up in Clifton that can get you a passport and have it ready for a couple things. Number one, you might get a chance to go travel out of the country. You're going to need a passport. And two, if you want to go to Canada, you got to have a passport. Things done change. Ed writes, Nate, don't forget Roland versus Wendy airs today. That's right. Roland Martin called out Wendy Williams because Wendy Williams stuck her foot in her mouth. Starts talking about how she don't support HBCUs. Sounds like a damn fool. Roland Martin, who's now become the gatekeeper for black culture, after dissing Snoop and getting so much love for it. Now he's going to go on her show. I think it's great theater. It's great cross promotion from television to different networks. Roland doesn't back down. And Wendy has a strong personality with some people. Like I've seen her it wasn't pretty. Like Omarosa running her show and basically took over the show. Omarosa basically took over the show. So it'll be interesting. Yeah, I'll check it out if I have time. Like I said, at 10:30, I got to meet a man about a vasectomy. Yeah. I'm looking forward to it. Brent writes, I think he should have at least went to the convention with his 1,900 delegates and contested. Okay, but if he does that, Brent, he loses. Then he doesn't have a chip in the big game. Then he can't go back to her and say, listen, I helped you beat your opponent. I gave you my followers. I told my followers to get on board with you. Okay, now give me a position as an ambassador or, support this proposal for my home state. Okay, what's wrong with that? Or my home district, whatever the case may be. Brent continues, not concerned about Trump. He is a plant. It will be interesting to see what happens at their convention because the judge made the determination that party officials don't have to endorse him. That convention is going to be crazy. Kasich ain't even going. And Ohio is the most important swing state in the nation. Not only is Kasich not going, from what I understand, Kasich is almost kind of like running for election in 2020. I think he's sort of like courting sponsors and still courting support for what he thinks is God's will to make him the president. If he don't go sit his ass down somewhere, we don't want you to be the president, Mr. Kasich. I mean, I don't even want you to be the governor of Ohio, but it is what it is. But I've heard that he is going to hold a separate sort of get together. Let me give you more details so I can speak specifically on it. But he's holding his own event during that week, and that's John Kasich, the governor of Ohio. And I don't know. I guess he's betting that Kasich is going to, or he's betting that Donald Trump is going to lose. One thing here to the Craigslist, I'm telling you, all the freaks are going to come out in Cleveland because and I've read about it before, these conventions, these cats show up, these married politicians, these conservatives, all day long. They got to keep a smile with their suit and their flag pin on the lapel and their Bibles, and they can't wait to get to the party afterward and the nightlife and everything that comes with it. I'm telling you, I will be monitoring Craigslist, Cleveland. I'm telling you. You think I'm joking? Freaks come out at night. It's going to be wild. It's going to be wild. But do you think that the Minnesota Lynx went too far? I do not. And I really wouldn't give a damn if 4 officers left. If I was running the Minnesota Lynx, those officers could never work on a security detail ever again. Ever again. And if we had to go outside that particular police department to find suitable security, then we would do that. You can't walk away from your post, man. That's called dereliction of duty. I mean, if this was the military, then you'd be court-martialed. Brittany writes, I'm late, but good morning, everyone. Good morning to you. Kiki writes, there are many hidden messages in the movie The Purge. Rhonda writes, the t-shirt sounds like the person is taking ownership. Absolutely. That's what it sounds like to me. Rhonda writes, Purge 3 seems to have more hidden messages. I've been saying Purge movies prepare us. Yeah, it could be. There's a lot of folks that feel like there's some kind of race war or the Armageddon, or at the very least, we are living in the last days. Ed writes, the same officer that walks off the job is the same officer that will protect the KKK march. Shaking my head. Pat writes, so true. 2 weeks ago, I saw a young brother get tased. I did not know if it was a gun or not. Brother dropped like a sack of potatoes. I was traumatized. I still am. Never want to see anything like that again. Yeah, I mean, it's one thing to see that kind of violence on television, but when you're up front and center and you see human beings being treated in this manner, when you see somebody being tased, that ain't a pretty sight. You don't know what's going to happen. Kiki writes, what's the name of the place in Clifton to do the passports? We have always went to the post office. It's, I don't know the name of the place, but it's right on the corner of Ohio Avenue and William Howard Taft. It's right on that corner. Brent writes, boycott Chick-fil-A. Why? Why should we boycott Chick-fil-A? What else are we missing? I've given you the link. If you live in the city of Cincinnati and you are inclined to do so, read through the 10-page document. It's in bullet points. I mean, it's a read. Okay, it's 10 pages. So you're going to have to read it. And after reading part of it myself, I will not lie to you until you read all of it, then what I can tell you is that you're going to invest about 10, 15 minutes in getting through it real quick. Once you do that, please complete the survey. And whatever questions you honestly have, please let the city know. Because now we can hold them accountable and say, listen, can we either see the information like from the public? Will that be made available? And then if the public makes these recommendations, then it's up to you now to put these recommendations in place. Okay? You can't hold them accountable. You cannot hold the system accountable if you're not interacting with the system on some levels. That's how I look at voting. I'm trying to hold these cats accountable. Simple as that. Man, listen, city council is going to be amazing last year. That city council race and also the mayor's race is going to be amazing next year. So much information is being released. And I read a timeline that seemed to imply that Charlie Winburn changed his vote on an issue that surrounds and impacts the Clifton area, perhaps to sort of grease the wheel and the path for Sam Malone to get his check. At least that's the way it was written. I don't know if it's true, but I will investigate. Thank you for listening. Just a few minutes after 8:30, approximately 8:33 a.m. Thank you very much this morning for your time. I really appreciate you. Just tell one person about the show. Hit that like button on the way out. I really appreciate you. Good morning, Team NI. Good morning, Cincinnati. Good morning, world. All right? And good morning to my good friends over at Soul Public Radio. They do great work. There's a link and banner on my website right now. Check them out. Until tomorrow morning at 10 a.m., my name is Nathan. I'm from Cincinnati, and I'm out.